This is the Whimsy Farm Podcast. I'm Carolyn Crane.
There's a big wide world right out your door. Good people doing good things. Whoa, it's a big wide world. Now is the time. Now is our time.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 24 of the podcast. Today we have lots to celebrate. Today marks our first anniversary, so thanks for being with us on this journey. Maryam, Barrie, and I celebrate National Poetry Month and Earth Day today with a special episode of Poetry Sustains. I want to say officially welcome back to the Whimsy Farm Podcast, my dear friend Maryam, Barrie.
Hello.
And we have a special edition of Poetry Sustains today, where we're going to be talking about and celebrating National Poetry Month and Earth Day. And Maryam, you came up with the theme for this episode of Poetry Sustains. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I wanted to weave together the ideas of Earth Day happening in this month and National Poetry Month and the current temperature of the planet. So I thought witness would be a good place to hold all of our poems. So there's a variety of kinds of witnessing, but each one of them witnesses something real and important.
Let's look at the Padlet. We'll
Sounds
share our
great.
screens, and your Padlets are always beautiful. And here we go. We have 1, 2, 3 poems. And oh, I want to stop right now and say this is also a very special episode of Poetry Sustains because I finally got you to share some of your poems. And you have
yeah.
taught poetry for decades. You're an expert in poetry. You work with the Midwest Review selecting poems, but you're also a wonderful poet, one of my favorite poets. So
Well,
thank you
that's
for
very sweet of
bringing
you to say.
your poetry here
Should we run
today.
short on time, I know what we could leave out.
Oh, yeah, we should be fine. We should be fine. So we have
Yeah,
And
let
we
me
have
post it.
three themes about witness: pathos, observe with awe, and hope. And
Yeah.
we are not going down the list in the order of appearance. We have something different for you. So, what are we starting with, Maryam?
Well, I was thinking it might serve us to begin and end on notes that were more uh, beautiful. I mean, everything that we're looking at is beautiful, but some of it is over difficult territory. And I want to
As
start with
befits the times. Yeah.
a short story of Falling by Alice
Okay.
Oswald. She is a poet who wrote this in 2016. There's an interview with her in the recent Paris Review, and she talks a great deal about how many times she's been arrested in the UK protesting for Palestinians. So she is an even better egg than I knew.
And I just want to say at the top that I love how we're playing with genre in this episode because you see here this is titled a short story, but it looks like a poem. And
Mm.
later we'll see a piece of poetry that is from a novel.
Yeah,
So
the
I,
Idiot's
I
Garden.
love that blending of genres. So would you go ahead and read Alice Oswald for us?
Yeah, and this poem is going to be different to most of them because she's working much more formally than most of our pieces will read. Um, a short story of falling is not a really illuminating title, but she cues us in to her concern in the first stanza. It is the story of the falling rain, to turn into a leaf and fall again. It is the secret of a summer shower to steal the light and hide it in a flower. And every flower a tiny tributary that from the ground flows green and momentary is one of water's wishes, and this tale hangs in a seed head smaller than my thumbnail. If only I, a passerby, could pass as clear as water through a plume of grass, to find the sunlight hidden at the tip, turning to seed a kind of lifting raindrip. Then I might know, like water, how to balance the weight of hope against the light of patience. Water which is so raw, so earthy strong, and lurks in cast iron tanks and leaks along, drawn under gravity toward my tongue to cool and fill the pipework of this song, which is the story of the falling rain that rises to the light and falls again. I think what I love about this piece, Carolyn, is how much science is embedded into each stanza, but it doesn't read as science. It reads as poesy. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I think the whimsical rhyme scheme helps with that.
Very much so. I want to point out this is a poem that I have worked really hard to memorize. And I still usually mess up in this stanza right here, the penultimate stanza. But my favorite part from the first time I saw this piece was, and every flower a tiny tributary that from the ground flows green and momentary. You know, as a gardener, and I know you're a gardener, that line just sums up so much about the pleasures of working in the soil and bringing things to fruition from there.
Yes. And the seed head smaller than my thumbnail. That
Yes.
really did the same thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, the hardest line for me to understand, and I'm still sort of working on it, is this bit about then I might know, like water, how to balance the weight of hope against the light of patience. But I think the weight of hope, it's not easy to hold hope all the time. I think in these days, holding hope requires some muscle. And light is patient, but it's also unpredictable. And hope ends up holding a lot more of the weight of the equation. Does that make sense to you?
I can see that. And I'm glad you drew me back to that stanza because I'd kind of, my brain had passed over it.
It's the only abstract moment in the poem.
What do I think is required of us to hold hope now?
Yeah,
And it is weighty, and we see that in our process as progressive people. I think that it also requires imagining out of the box.
yes.
Insanity is defined as doing the same thing over again. So, hoping for a good Democrat, is that really hope, or is that Charlie Brown and the football all over again? What can we imagine that we haven't done yet that might work? That's to me the weight of hope that's required now.
Oh, I
And
think that's
the light of patience, I mean, light is predictable in that we know when the sun is going to come up every day and set, and we know when the moon is going to rise and set. That's science. But we have to be patient, especially at this time of year when It still looks like winter, but the light is
Oh, sure.
spring.
And we don't know what the weather's going to be like. I don't know if we'll get to see tonight's pink full moon, the first full moon of spring. But we'll know it's there whether we can see it or not.
Yes, that I might know like water how to balance the weight of hope against the light of patience.
It's
And
very true.
another scientific and this is proven now that water changes its properties depending on how you treat it. That when you look at water and think about it, it changes properties.
Oh, yeah, the Massimo Emoto work
Mm,
with water.
right, right. So when it says you might know like water, that might seem poetical, but it is actually science as well as poetry.
Yeah. Oh, very good. The last thing I'll say about this one is just I love how she tells us what we already know in ways that are really thought-provoking and clear
And original.
and original. Yeah, she's a very original poet. She's got a book called I think it's called Nobody, where she goes, she's a classics scholar at Oxford or something, and she she went through the Odyssey and made note of all the unnamed characters and then has little stanzas for each of them as they experience the Trojan War and the work of getting home. It's amazing. It's
Oh, I
yeah,
want to read that.
she's really good.
Thank you for telling me about that. I'll add that to my list,
Yeah.
which,
Okay.
as you know, is long.
Yeah, yeah. Can always be longer.
Yeah, let's get back to literati.
Okay, sure. Uh, I thought the next poem we would do, I would ask you to read, and it's this one by Kyle Williams that is from the novel The Idiot's Garden. Um,
Oh,
Ichthyosaur Speaks, Stories from the Bathos. And maybe you knew what the bathos was in the first place, Carolyn. I did not. And it's the bottom part of the ocean that's got the sediment, and there are creatures who live among this crumbly wumbly stuff of what's left.
okay. I am loading. I would love to read this. This was, but I'm just loading it here. So I will say for a moment, while it's loading, that this is from a novel, The Idiot's Garden by Kyle E. Miller. It is his first novel. It is a work of experimental fiction, as he says, and he is our colleague. He teaches literature and writing at various colleges in the Metro Detroit area. And I read a review of The Idiot's Garden yesterday where it said this was easily the weirdest novel the reviewer had ever read.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it is unique, and I hope it will end up being uh,
Get a
forging the
wider.
way of a talk about combining genres. So I parsed this out. I read just a couple pages. It's not a long novel. It's 175 pages. I parsed it out because it was so precious. I would only give myself like a couple pages a night, but I did finally end, and
It's
I will.
very uh, loaded.
It is a post-apocalyptic dystopian experimental novel that is full of hope and beauty. There's the underlying paradox. So here we go. Ichthyosaur speaks, notes from the benthos. Now they have planted their father's teeth in wind-cut rows, and the blue and yellow eagle has crawled up in screaming raiment to ask, what is the feeling of meaning? And silence has answered for them. We are without meat. World times have broken the marquee into fixtures of melted dice and aluminum. A boy's brown grin has copied the scent of owls. Kindly giants have arrived in jets of wine, have asked barter and received plants of crooked nickel. Unbeautiful and unprotected millers and sawyers have sat on cadmium benches and poisoned their children. But the eagle has not seen this far and has no consciousness of error. A wild dog has joined vultures. A magazine has subscribed to its owner. A film has played on the head of a pin in magnificent fidelity, and no one has watched, but the dialogue has been faithfully recorded. The lemniscate has taken the second half of centuries spent in the canals of Saturn's ear. Yes, the soldiers have said, this is why we died to fight. But the sea is quicker, and all unprotected men have gathered and wept irons into the eyes of slugs, and they have listened, and the river has become hypersonic, and the introduction of presents has gone poorly in occupied countries. A billiard ball has exploded, saving it from the pit, while in the east, severed heads have saved the body, and ruminations infinite in their power to form software have been outlawed by ministers. Now a new scarecrow has ridden the bicycle, singing the fable we are familiar with. The low belief has been unable to accommodate the experience of growth, and yet they have not given up the garden to ritual cloaks or joined willless nicks, and the assemblage has not of its own accord eliminated nutrient. The hand has rebelled against the handler. It picks up cats and serrated leaves, the duty of the piece. And blue Artemis, printed in 4 dimensions, has placed a ring on the third finger from the oven, and on that ring a schedule of life has been approved by the highest office. The geometry of simplicity cannot compensate for the heat of a microwave, and the river of atoms have swung against the accumulation of cigarette burners and sensors and propane tanks in the call of drones that have united. Diaspora of hemisphere, the silver fuse has been lit.
And that last line is such a powder keg where the whole poem becomes a beacon. That's a pretty
Yes.
amazing last line.
I think that it's so otherworldly at times, and then there are certain lines that just pull me back into present reality. The presence has gone poorly in occupied countries is one of those.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's like,
Which we can see lots of examples of that right now. Can
yes,
you scroll up a little bit? Um, I just wonder, I want to like go through this a little bit and explain whatever we can figure out how to explain. Like the unbeautiful and unprotected millers and sawyers have sat on cadmium benches. Cadmium is a metal that is really toxic, but for a long time it was very cheap, and people would make household things out of it, not knowing that they were poisoning their families and poisoning themselves, obviously. But I think that helps me make some sense of um, the eagle hasn't seen that far. Of course, the eagle can't see the destructive nonsense that we're capable of because it's ridiculous. Um, the lemon skate, I'm sure you said that better than I said it. And I should know it. I don't know if I ever told you this, Carolyn, but my eldest daughter, when she was born, she had very scant hair, but her the circle, the whorl on the top of her head is a lemon skate. It's the sign of eternity on its side, which gives her some honkin' cowlicks as a almost 40-year-old. But I don't know how often people run into that word. Do you know what I mean?
yes, I had not run into it before this. novel. I had not run into many things before I read this novel, and I would
Yeah,
not. I can't even say I understand it all. I let it wash over me. I know in the future of which Miller writes, the earth has been poisoned to the point where it will not permit humans to exist, pretty much.
right. And so
And
the symbol of eternity has taken the second half of a century spent in the canals. This is why we died to fight. I think it does make sense when you break it um, down. And I wish I was able to do that with, uh, everything here, because I'm sure it all does yield meaning. My favorite part of it, I love the ending, the last line. But I think in the first stanza, this idea of what is the feeling of meaning and how much does that matter when we're without meat, when we're without food? Because if people are concerned about what things mean, they're not quite in survival mode. They're living having a richer inner life than mere survival could account for. Do you,
yes, well said.
yeah. And I love that he sets us up at the beginning here, um, to carry that through the poem with us. What is the feeling of meaning? What makes things mean anything to us?
Kyle Miller, The Idiot's Garden is the novel.
Yeah,
Must
it's
highly recommend.
highly recommended. Yeah. I will have to add it to my list. Oh, call. We should probably say what call means in the last stanza. Um, in the call of drones that have united. So amidst all this garbagey stuff, the call of drones. A call is some people, if the mother's water doesn't break, they're born within the call, and there used to be great meaning attached to that. Like people were thought to be blessed or to have second sight or to be weird, depending, from culture to culture, the meaning shift. But I think that's what the call of the drone, like all the things that have been birthed with drones have united.
Yes, yes.
The Ann Arbor Library has it because I checked it out.
Oh, you did?
I haven't read it yet, but I have it checked out.
Oh, good. I'm glad the library has it.
Yeah.
Where should we go next, Mariam?
Let's do the Joe Hopi. Is that how he says his name?
I think it's Hoppy, but it might be
Hopi.
Hopi. I knew a Hoppy in California, so um, I might be getting his name wrong, but it's spelled Hoppe. And he is also a colleague. He's emeritus faculty from the community college in Austin. And we met him, you and I met him when he had a
Yes.
brief part-time role at Washtenaw, where you taught and I teach. And he writes a lot about cars, which is surprisingly interesting, says someone who doesn't really care that much about cars, but his poems are very interesting. So this is a departure. This is the title poem of his latest chapbook, Trying Not to Be a Nature Poet.
Yeah, I like this one. Shall I read it or would you like to?
Why don't you read it since I
Okay.
read the last one?
Trying hard not to be a nature poet. Sandhill cranes float down onto well-cut lawns like balsa wood covered in feathered tissue paper, framed in lightness, legs spread like coat hangers. Or the wind picks them up into duets, a kung fu film, call and response. Early fall and the fuzzy babies are almost full size, red skull caps, pure scarlet. Mom, dad, offspring, trios walk like camels, calm on gravel roads. You wait for them to cross with sweet wonder at their numbers, remembering how your parents drove to the county's far corners to glimpse a single pair, where goldfinches fly through lowland marshes, bright yellow and black, among the greens and the light browns of dead weeds. They're like heralds for you yourself, having fulfilled your potential of shining notes, of good things to come further along each road. And the deer seem ubiquitous, slipping through vines and branches, corn stalks and leaves at the edge of every clearing. The joke is they know 2 more months until hunting season. So here they stand, full flanked, almost bovine, wherever they please. Round another curve in the loop swooping lane, and if you look close, the eyes and ears of 2 young deer awakened from afternoon's nap in a field of soybeans. But half a mile away, the train horn triggers a whole Friday night football game of coyote howls. Usually just one or two when the 10:53 rolls through, but tonight dozens have shown up to answer the locomotive's call. Or at 2:30 Saturday morning, the neighbor who served overseas comes home to his backyard shooting range, lights it up for 3/4 of an hour, focuses his laser scope, his night vision goggles, on some movement at the edge of his fields, or maybe man-shaped targets awaiting the execution of his will. But a 1/4 mile to the north, I-94 runs east to west, the white noise of a television, and in the late darkness, every so often, a motorcycle screams through the pavement like a rep saw.
That last line just always gives me chills.
Yeah, yeah.
I love, to me, this poem, it effectively merges nature and what we've done to nature on 2 levels, with language and imagery and with meaning.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's true.
it's just this marriage of language and meaning that I find I find somewhat sad, but maybe it's also happy. It's a happy compromise. I
Well,
don't know, but he does it
sandhill
with,
cranes used to be endangered, and they have sort of made a good comeback. They're not as rare as they were in when we were younger, when
that's
people
good
would
to
have
know.
to drive to Point Pelee in Canada or over to the dunes on the Lake Michigan shore to see sandhill cranes. There are sandhill cranes around where I live every year. Um, and his description of them with their camel-like gait is so accurate and perfect. The awkwardness and sheer unbelievability of their bone structure is pretty amazing. He does that so well.
Yes,
And they're close to I-94. They're close to our houses. Most of my neighbors have shooting ranges, and they
mine
still
too.
come and try to forage in the fields and meadows around those ranges. Oh, and I don't know. Do you have a lot of coyotes where you live?
No, not that I know of.
Um, his description of them answering the train, dozens. I wish I could make the sound. Because when we first moved here, I heard the sound every night, and I felt like, are there insane crazy people outside my house screaming at the top of their lungs? Because it sounds crazy, like out of control, wackos. And when there's more than one or two, it's a very intimidating sound. And they're very
I think
comfortable.
without revealing too much, I think that Joe Hoppy does not live far from you.
Oh, well,
I
that
would
would
say
make sense
within 20 miles, I would bet.
with the train and the freeway.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can totally relate to the landscape he creates here.
It's very Michigan.
It's very Michigan. Can we look at the title again for a minute? Trying hard not to be a nature poet. The thing that I appreciate about the title is that he only figures out how to not be a nature poet in the very end of his poem. And the rest of it is very close observation of a variety of critters who are just part of a world that we don't control. I mean, we influence it, but we don't control them.
Nature bats last.
Yeah, yeah. So I think he might not be succeeding.
I think you're right.
Yeah, it's a good poem. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about it?
Not in our time constraints, but I'm glad to share it. And thanks, Joe, for sending it to me.
Oh, yeah, it's a very good piece. Um, I guess I'll do one of mine, if that's
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Exhausting Weather is the title of this one, and it's got an epigram from Primo Levi, his very powerful book, Survival in Auschwitz, where early in the book he's describing the way that the survivors get acclimated to the camp. By now, we are tired of being amazed. My
Mm.
sister theorizes each particular illness for each particular person has its own emotional weather. The saga of how long she had to advocate for herself regarding her reoccurring UTIs required vengeful patience. My low oxygen levels mean I fight to regain my breath after I muster myself to the bathroom and back. It is a battle to breathe slowly enough to keep my shoulders soft as rusty wheezes rattle around in the tin can of my torso. Months of prednisone. I use my nebulizer, give myself injections. I name my weather languishing resentment. The care our illnesses warrant illustrates our privilege. I haven't been thrown to the ground or handcuffed. When I need an inhaler, there is one in my purse. Each time this man was elected, I felt doom crawling up my spine, but I never imagined this. As a girl, I knew this wasn't land of the free, home of the brave. At school, when we had to stand to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, I only mouthed the words with liberty and justice for all. Even then, it wasn't true. The national weather these days? Fascist pox? Crippling fear? Nazi nausea? I am so tired of being amazed.
Oh, Maryam, I really appreciate how you speak of privilege, that embedded the idea of the privilege of your inhaler being in your purse.
Oh, yeah. Because people
It
have
goes
died
back
for
to
want
that
of an
what Kyle
inhaler.
Miller said, those who have no meat, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you have meat and you have the inhaler in your purse.
I do. And sadly, of the 43 people who died in those awful detention centers, I think at least three of them died for want of an inhaler.
And I just read yesterday that at the detention center in Texas, the guards were placing bets on who would die.
I read that too. I read that
Fascist
too.
pox.
And I guess I could add of my three possibilities for our national weather. I personally am going to go with Nazi nausea. I feel like that's what I have.
Yeah, I think that is the closest to where I am, being also in a privileged place, so that I watch those with crippling fear, but I am not one of them.
No, and I appreciated that in the footage of um, Saturday's No King protests across the country, there were multiple white, elderly white women like you and I who were approached by reporters who said something like, "So I noticed there aren't any brown people here." And reliably, these women said, "It's not safe for them to be here. That's why we're here, because we are
Yes,
protected in ways they are not."
I mouthed those words as well, Maryam, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, why was it mandatory? Ah, it was a different.
Fascist pox. It's not, none of this is new. It is just more brazen,
It's very brazened and licensed.
state sanctioned.
Yeah, and
And
very,
it always was though, but and also the I think that the news is less curated. The feedback loop is uh more decentralized and intense. We see things on YouTube that would never be on mainstream
oh,
media.
that's true. That's true.
So I think that is also part of why more people are waking up.
Yeah, yeah. I'm also heartened by the way I've heard more than one person say in 10 years, nobody will admit that they voted for him.
I have a student who's politically active in the progressive movement, and she wrote in a recent assignment that she was trying so hard to do her best, but that she was so tired. And I encouraged her to rest. And this, I think it's important to remember that this is a relay, not a sprint. And if we need to
Yeah,
rest, we must rest because this is not new and it's not going away anytime soon.
no. And
It's
it's
uh,
exhausting.
it's exhausting. I
I,
like how you move from the personal to the political here too.
oh, thanks. Um, Oh, let's do Chris Olander's Between. Do you want to tell us something about Chris?
Oh, yes, Chris is one of my favorite people. He was my mentor as a writer and poet in my early days of being a writer in Northern California. He was the poet laureate of Nevada County for a while. And as far as I know, is still writing and performing. You can find him on YouTube. He's quite a dynamic performer and a nature poet. His latest book, I think his latest book is River Light, from which this poem is taken. And he was referring in this poem to the Yuba River that runs through western Nevada County and is so important to all those who live there pretty much.
Oh, I believe it.
He's known for his stark imagery, as you'll see in
Yeah,
this.
yeah. He's got a very telegraphic kind of style that it packs a powerful punch.
Between by Chris Olander. Dawn flares, ridge pines, splinter light, blue oak limbs, angled shadows, canyon granite, fractures, stream gravel, riffles between cattail stalks, centered in tangled blackberry thicket, yellow-black orb, weaver spins light. In valley's evening breeze, through garden cafe, black mesh stockings, scissor aisle, April moonlight, gardenia bloom glow, Chablis glass, ting, gray pebbles, gray pebbled beach, twilight cold, calling gulls fly up, crabbed shells picked clean, ebb tide dissolves, light splinters, pine ridge flares dawn.
Oh, this is such a loving observation of this landscape and this community. And I appreciate that the middle stanza gives us just a small little taste of who the people are who are here, while the first and last stanzas are this really detailed noticing of what life is like on this land.
And I like how the last three lines are reversals of the first three lines
Yes, yes, yes. That's a very good
to
point.
tie it up in a nice bow. And I don't know how autobiographical this is, but one of the things that's, I think, poignant and beautiful about Chris Olander is that he had a wonderful love and marriage to a woman named Jackie, who was an exotic belly dancer. And they were just the loves of each other's lives. And I picture her, she passed a few years ago.
Oh,
I picture her with the black mesh stockings and the Chablis glass with him in the moonlight.
yes.
Because if they didn't do that, they might as well have. That was who they were.
It's amazing how he builds this romantic, special celebratory exchange out of hardly any words.
Yes.
I really appreciate it. I'm glad you turned me on to it.
Yeah, it's very special.
And I don't know how you read the title. I read it as the second stanza with the allusions to people. They live between these statements about the landscape and the water.
Yeah, I like that way of looking at it.
How do you look at it?
It could be between night and dawn.
Oh, yeah.
That moment before the moonlight gives way to the dawn.
I hadn't even thought of that, but yeah.
They're up so late with their Chablis glasses.
Yeah, that's such a nice line. So satisfying.
Ting!
Ting. Um, the last piece we've got in Witness, Observe with Awe is Audre Lorde's Litany for Survival, which I think, is this going to tell me when she wrote it? I want to say that she wrote it in, oh, I was going to be wrong. It's copyright 1978. She was an incredible poet who spoke truth to power and whose work is really nuanced in the way that it describes the people and their concerns. So I'll just leave it at that.
She wrote Sister Outsider. That's what had such an
Oh,
impact on
that
me.
one.
Yeah. Okay.
I've not read that one, but I'll put it on my list.
That it's I read it right when I first moved here. It's very powerful.
She's a powerful writer.
Yes. So take it away.
Okay, a litany for survival. For those of us who live at the shoreline, standing upon the constant edges of decision, crucial and alone. For those of us who cannot indulge the passing dreams of choice, who love in doorways coming and going, in the hours between dawns, looking inward and outward, at once before and after, seeking a now that can breed futures like bread in our children's mouths, so our dreams will not reflect the death, so their dreams will not reflect the death of ours. For those of us who were imprinted with fear, like a faint line in the center of our foreheads, learning to be afraid with our mother's milk, for by this weapon the illusion of some safety can be found. The heavy-footed hoped to silence us. For all of us, this instant and this triumph, we were never meant to survive. And when the sun rises, we are afraid it might not remain. When the sun sets, we are afraid it might not rise in the morning. When our stomachs are full, we are afraid of indigestion. When our stomachs are empty, we are afraid we may never eat again. When we are loved, we are afraid love will vanish. When we are alone, we are afraid love will never return. And when we speak, we are afraid our words, whoops, I messed up. Our words will not be heard nor welcomed. But when we are silent, we are still afraid. So it is better to speak, remembering we were never meant to survive.
So yeah, this makes me think right away of the line again in Miller's piece and the um, and in your piece, the privilege, and if they have no meat, these are the
Oh,
people
yeah,
with no
yeah.
meat. These are the people who have the fear, the crippling fear. This is
Well,
this is who she's writing about.
yeah, and I think she is writing, I mean, I, I think part of it is she's writing about what it meant to be Black at the time, but I think it
Mhm.
applies to everyone because I think there are a lot of people who are imprinted with fear and who are afraid to move, to act, to change, to question. Um, and this line, we were never meant to survive, is really haunting on the first read through of the poem. But on a second and third reading, none of us are going to survive this. We're all mortal. We're not going to survive
On an
indefinitely.
individual level, but I took that to mean we were never meant to survive, as in um,
A historical perspective, yeah.
historical perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the first level of meaning of it for sure. Um, I just suspect that this really, what for me is the heart of the poem. And when the sun rises, we are afraid it might not remain. And when the sun sets, we are afraid. I think there are many people who feel like if I'm just quiet, I'll get by. I don't, it's not safe to risk things.
I
Maybe you
think
have a
that
more
many
hopeful
people
view of
think that.
people than I do.
Mhm. I think there are the people like the people in the ice camps. That's who I thought of in the contemporary now way when you read that
Oh
penultimate
my gosh.
stanza. Um, but it's been a different, many different groups of people have felt that. But you're also right. There's also the group that is afraid to speak up, afraid that their nice little tidy life will go away if they speak up for injustice. So they're just going to keep their heads down and um,
I
drive
think you
straight
grew
through the
up in a
protest.
more liberal-minded area than I did. I grew up in Saline, which is a nearby town that's notorious for being small-minded and bigoted. Um, and
Oh,
it,
I grew up in a small town, bigoted town, definitely.
oh, okay.
It
But
was a
I know,
sundown town.
oh my gosh, it was a sundown town.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, if Celine had been big enough, it would have been a sundown. Um, and in my experience of trying to talk to people while we lived there about, um, so why are you so afraid of gay people? Why are you so afraid of brown people? Why are you so afraid of ethnic food? Fill in the blank. Um, I remember a woman I went to high school with telling me, I just want to live in my white picket fence world.
Mm.
And there's a lot of fear there too.
Oh yes, and that's the seed of the hatred we're seeing.
I think
The
so.
the trope of pretty soon we'll be outnumbered.
I think so. I think that's at the heart of it. I love this poem.
Yes. Thank you, Audre Lorde.
She's really good. I think we've got two more.
Okay, let's do it.
I want to do mine first and the Seamus Haney piece last.
Okay, I love the Seamus Heaney piece. Which of
Oh, I do
which of the
too.
two are you going to do? A shadow under the boughs?
I'll do a shadow under the boughs. Is
I
that
love
okay?
this one. Yes,
It's a
because
somewhat.
this is the beach, and one of the first times that I was with you in your car driving through Ann
Oh,
Arbor,
oh, oh.
you started talking about the Copper Beach because we were headed that direction. And being from California, I was picturing a Beach. And
Oh,
I was so puzzled as to why we were coming up on a copper beach in the middle of Ann Arbor. But then I found out that you were referring to a tree that was beloved to you and that we've driven by so many times since. So
I
I
had
always
no
remember
idea
that.
that's what you thought.
A copper beach here?
It's true.
Okay.
It's called A Shadow Under the Boughs. White laces the firs and pines, the architectural structure of leafless maples, oaks. It outlines each shape, dusts it out of focus. The copper beech at the corner of Geddes and Huron, twin trunks twining skyward, sings its low oboe notes, whether I am there to hear or not. I am only a shadow under its boughs. The arch of willow, the twist of hawthorn, the rugged awkwardness of the jack pine, a winter postcard of a day. Leaving the house this morning, I passed red oak, pin oak, shagbark hickory, the hidden nest of the red-tailed hawk, the doe who looks up lazily at me. I want to tell her, don't rest here. This is not a safe place. But she is docile and used to us. 3 years ago, I saw a lump in our woods. I could not make sense of its shape, its heft. Walking closer, I came to realize it was the downed body of a shot deer. She had staggered onto our land in her death throes, come to rest on this little island, the one space round here where deer blinds don't grow. The neighbor came to get her, but I think of her still. Her life counts as my life counts, fleeting and small, full of the things of this world, its hungers and sweetness. And I wrote this a while ago, and I've learned some things. This bit about I am only a shadow under its boughs, under the boughs of the beach. I've learned that they have figured out ways to try to capture what trees' perceptions are of people. And they've done it by trying to slow down camera footage that's from the perspective of the tree. And they're if a person comes to a tree every morning for years and years and years and years, the tree might well notice it as a shadow that's there. But if you just come up to a tree and go, hey, you're going to be gone and out of there too quickly for it to be noticed. So
So
I like,
lingering regularly beneath the tree will know you.
right, it'll have some sense of, oh, it's you. You're distinct from the other things like you.
Huh.
Yeah, I like that.
Wow. I love the relationship you have with this tree. You worry about this tree. You've been worried about this tree because of the construction going
Yeah.
on nearby and how it would affect the distant roots of the tree, even though the city says it's protected. And that comes back to what you were just saying is that I thought of the mycelium network, which we don't really fully understand yet, that
No.
those distant roots that the person is standing on top of are the recognition network.
Yes, yes, yes. And they're affected by, really heavy machinery and earth moving equipment. And I actually, there's a tree that was at the intersection of the Southfield Freeway and I-94 when I first met my husband, and I was like, we've got to plant crystals out there to try to help this tree because I'm worried about it. It's not going to survive the instruction. And my husband, at the time was not uh, on the same page with me, but we still snuck out there and buried crystals and said prayers, and it was
Did it
dead
work?
within 5 years anyway. So,
Oh, well, it might be because he didn't believe. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm sure the tree appreciated it. And it does take, we may not be able to see, that's another metaphor. We may not be able to see the death happening because it's happening so deep underground.
exactly. Yeah, that's true. That's true with a lot of trees. Our last poem is a Seamus Heaney translation of a little known Sophocles play called Philoctetes, that he translated as The Cure at Troy. So that's the name of a whole little slender Sophocles play about a prophet who's isolated on an island, and how people maybe don't want to hear from prophets all that much. Oh, I guess I should say, if people don't know Seamus Heaney, he was an amazing poet. I got to witness him, I'll say perform, when I was a student at the University of Michigan, because he was introduced by, I think, Donald Hall. And it was clear that Seamus Heaney had been tippling, if you know what I mean. He was well-rounded or cheery. And
In
they
his cups.
started this contest about, like, recite that, recite that, recite that, recite that. And they just played that for like over an hour. It was amazing, like really long pieces. And they could just
Wow.
recite that much work.
When they
Even,
were in their cups, yeah.
yeah, even
Wow.
when they were in their cups.
Yeah, I've loved him for a long time. I'm so glad you selected this for
Yeah,
today. He
he's an
said one of
amazing.
my favorite lines. I forget what poem it's from, but I think of it often. Puzzle me the answer to that one.
Oh,
I love that line.
I'm trying to think of what that's from.
I don't remember, but I think of the line often.
Yeah, it's a great line. From The Cure at Troy. Human beings suffer. They torture one another. They get hurt and get hard. No poem or play or song can fully right a wrong inflicted and endured. History says, don't hope on this side of the grave. But then, once in a lifetime, the longed for tidal wave of justice can rise up, and hope and history rhyme. So hope for a great sea change on the far side of revenge. Believe that further shore is reachable from here. Believe in miracle and cures and healing wells. Call miracle self-healing, the utter self-revealing double take of feeling. If there's fire on the mountain or lightning and storm, and a God speaks from the sky, that means someone is hearing the outcry and the birth cry of new life at its term.
Oh, so appropriate for today and this time.
And it is so hopeful, despite the beginning, because clearly we have lots of evidence of uh, the first stanza's contents.
And I
And
love Far Side of Revenge because
yes,
to me, we must get past the anger that is fueling some of us because we will not get there in anger.
no, no. I mean, anger sort of keeps us up in stanza one with they
Yes,
get hurt and get hard.
yes.
And the people who are torturing one another got hurt and got hard. So I think the piece is asking for compassion for the whole spectrum of folk, whatever their politics or whatever their, even their poor behavior.
And to
It's
think of something beyond, to go back to the first poem, something beyond the current quagmire and dichotomies that have us in this fruitless, frustrating, circular trajectory that we're on. How do we propel out of that?
right. And part of it, part of the way to do that is uh, for us to pay attention to history and hope at the same time. I mean, I am taking a course on Federico Garcia Lorca, and I was blabbing about it to my writing group and said, even though Franco, the fascists won in Spain, he eventually died, and they're not in power now. And my friend said, "There's still a lot of Francoists in Spain." They're not in charge of the boat. They're not driving the boat. Um, and things do change.
Believe in miracle and cures and healing wells.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Seamus Heaney.
Oh, thank you. He's a wonder.
Yes, he is.
Well, we've covered so much.
Oh, what a wonderful journey. And I just appreciate how these poems all thematically connect in
They
surprising ways,
do.
from Greek mythology to entwining humanity with nature, hope and history.
Yeah. And Joe does a great job of nature and humanity. Each of these pieces
Yes,
is great.
yes. Thank you for selecting them, helping me with them,
Sure.
and for helping me celebrate National Poetry Month and Earth Day.
Yes. I'm glad to celebrate them with you.
I'm glad to celebrate them with you, and I hope we get to see each other soon.
Yes. Until next time.
Bye, sweetheart.
Bye bye.
Thanks to Maryam Barrie for joining me for this special episode of Poetry Sustains. Happy National Poetry Month and happy Earth Day. And thanks for joining me on our first anniversary show of the Whimsy Farm podcast. Please see my show notes for details about the poems and poets we featured today. This podcast is produced on the sacred ancestral land of the Anishinaabe people. Thanks to the California band Castle House for writing and performing our music. The Whimsy Farm podcast airs the 1st and 15th of each month on our YouTube channel, Carolyn Crane and Whimsy Farm, and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Thanks to our underwriters, Just Play Production and Cannabliss, and to our paid Patreon members for their support of today's podcast. If you'd like to offer your support, please visit my website, whimsyfarm.net, and click the Patreon link to find a level of support that's right for you. There's also a free membership level. You could email me through my website as well as access all links to past and current episodes. That's whimsyfarm.net. Join me on May 1st to celebrate May Day as a labor holiday. I will welcome labor historian, blogger, and poet Patrick Murphin as my guest. Until then, remember the words of Utah Phillips, who said, "Too many good people are doing too many good things to afford me the luxury of being pessimistic." Get out there and create some positive change. Stay safe, everyone.
whimsyfarms.net